from people who ain't got no reverence for you, and I swear that'll make me a better me. Got no conviction, so why would I listen to people who blind us where that is?
Yo, what is up? Welcome back to the Counterculture Pod.
Yo.
We got an interesting one today. I'm really excited. Couple of things you got to know. The hoodie I'm wearing that you so desperately want is not available right now.
Ooh. Tease them.
But it might be available this fall. So if you guys think we should drop it, don't comment. It's not worth it. But anyways, we're probably going to drop it anyways.
Yeah.
That also is unreleased.
Yep.
Shout out.
And then
you
gotta get yourself one of these.
You already know
Oh.
we're like kind of sold out.
Are we actually?
Oh, really?
Yeah. We only have like 10 left.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you better hustle up
That
to
makes sense, though.
get your last one.
Yep. So, man, we didn't even really talk. How's your guys' day? You cleaned cars?
It's my last full day of work.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Don't tell anybody though.
No, it's out there.
That's
People
out
know.
there.
And you're retiring to be a millionaire.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Yeah,
That's
music is
amazing.
taking off, and I'm not, hey, why are you smiling? What was that? I have acquired enough monthly listeners
Oh, yeah.
dude.
To buy a toothbrush
Come on.
every 3 months.
That's actually crazy.
That's crazy. I support the
I'm
dream.
about to walk
Screw
off.
him.
I'm about to walk off.
Bro,
That's my passion. I'm talking about.
I am your highest monthly listener by far. You know that's
Probably
a
true.
fact.
That's probably true.
I know more music. I might know more songs than you know. Okay. I know songs you haven't even released yourself, which is
crazy.
actually true.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
So nobody's a bigger fan, bro.
Hey,
Nobody's a
I
bigger
actually
fan.
did stream Cherry Lime about 10 times this past week.
Same.
Thank goodness. That
Same.
means a lot. Seriously.
Yeah, it's a
Same.
great song.
My new song, Cherry Lime, just came out this last Friday. Best summer pop song you'll ever hear.
Click the link.
Let me know what you guys think. Seriously, it's a banger.
Cherry Lime on all platforms. Look up Cherry Lime Mitch, and you will find it. It's a bop. Windows down, vibes.
Summertime vibe.
100%.
If enough of you listen to it, maybe it will become true that I will have enough monthly listeners
Heck
to
yeah.
generate passive income
That'd be amazing.
to do it full time. That's the dream.
Amway.
That's
Yeah.
the dream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, bro, that's amazing. And I'm currently so my dream is to have a warehouse with a team of driven entrepreneurial mindset people who are striving to scale uncertified. We got team bonding workouts every single day.
Oh wow.
Cold plunge.
I like that.
Cold plunges, no, like I'm dead serious. Cold plunges,
Sweet.
glizzies every single morning.
Not hot dogs for the viewers.
Not hot dogs for the viewers. Did you make that up? or
Yeah.
what? Yeah. We call glizzies, or we call energy drinks glizzies. Mitch just made it up.
Yep.
But yeah, that's my dream, and just to be able to grind on the brand, doing events, stuff like that. So
Absolutely.
we'll see. God's timing, consistency over everything. That's what gets you there.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's very
It's not
true.
about one silver bullet. It's about 50 gold ones. So just got to create a consistent product, scale it, market it, get it into the right hands, and repeat the process.
Yeah, there's
AOV, frequency, I mean, all of that.
a lot of overlap with what we both do.
Tons of
Just
overlap.
like how to pursue it.
Yeah. I mean, consistency is the name of the game, right? I mean, most small business owners, right, don't turn a profit until year 5. So I'm a year and a half in.
It's a grind.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited. It's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, if you're wanting to start a business, let me just like slow you down and be like, are you sure? Because a lot of your time, a lot of your money is gonna go into it.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you're serious, like
Yeah.
I'm not talking about like an Etsy shop online. You make little bracelets. Like,
yeah.
Like grinding, like turning your mom's basement into a warehouse, like
Right.
Podcast studio.
podcast studio, like the photo shoots with soon to be hopefully professional athletes. Shout out Tim and Lipsy.
Yeah.
Just making money moves, bro.
Okay.
So
I am on for that, by the way. The photo shoot.
okay,
We're good.
perfect. Yeah, we're gonna have another athlete, Maya McDermott. Shout out if she ever listens to this. Gonna be doing a photo shoot this Thursday.
Oh, let's go.
So yeah, should be really, really cool. UNI player. UNI basketball player. So yeah, God is moving. He's doing big things. Jonathan Precluda one of the people who reps our stuff, just preached in it last week.
Really?
Preached in our new blue T-shirt.
Let's go.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
I texted him and he was like, "Bro, I could wear the shirt every day."
Really?
So
It's amazing.
shout out JP. Dude, I'm telling you, if you haven't ordered this blue T-shirt and you're listening to this podcast, we literally call it like cloud cotton. Like it's insane. It's like scuba material. If any of you've ever had a T-shirt that's that. But yeah, it'll blow your mind with how soft it is.
Was he wearing the blue shorts as well when preaching?
I didn't send him the blue shorts. He's 6'7".
Oh.
Oh, wow, I did
wait,
not realize that.
Yeah. So my blue shorts are 5-inch inseams. I just was like, I don't know if he would wear it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he would, and he's gonna listen to this, probably not, and be like, "Screw you, Eli." Should have sent it to me,
Yeah.
but I didn't send it. But I'm gonna be sending him. Yeah, I mean, just an amazing platform for us to be able to,
Yeah, that's sick.
So yeah, shout out JP, Harris Creek. Actually, Harris Creek, all of their staff has our merch. The
Yeah.
entire staff.
That's incredible.
amazing.
So, yeah, God's doing a lot of work, but it takes a lot of sacrifice. It's like wake up, work out. Today was wake up, read a little bit of my Bible, get with my mentor, work on the brand, work, come home, spend a little bit of time with family, eat, podcast. I mean, that's life.
Yeah, that's crazy. What do you guys do to stay on track with like prioritizing reading the Bible? Because I feel like I go on like seasons in and out, maybe forget a week, then it's hard to get back on track. What do you guys think?
You just gotta develop it and do a routine.
Yeah.
Habit.
You gotta make a habit out of it.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta
It's
be
called
like,
spiritual disciplines for a reason.
yeah. You can't be like, have the attitude of like, all right, today I'll get to it eventually. Like I'll get to it at some point during the day.
Yeah, that's a really good
You
point.
probably won't. You gotta have it like, all right, before I go to the gym or after I go to the gym in the morning, I'm in the Word.
Yeah.
Before I go to work, or you have your dedicated time in the evenings to do it, whatever.
Yeah.
But sometimes, I mean, I feel like everyone can get in the Bible once a day. When you're driving, you can at least listen to the audio Bible. There's literally no excuse.
Yeah. I love that.
Definitely.
They're like, this is Tuesday? No, Monday.
Yeah.
Monday. Today's Tuesday. Yesterday, I went to the gym. I was dead tired.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was just kind of like dozing. Like I was up till midnight last night. And I got to the gym, and you know how they have that couch there?
Yeah.
I kind of laid down on that thing.
No way.
And I just kind of like started dozing off.
Yeah.
And then I just woke up because someone walked in. I was like, shoot, dude, I got to get working out. So I started, rolling out and everything.
Bro,
And I
sleeping while
started
you're
started dozing, rolling out. And I was like, okay,
No
there's literally
way.
no way
No.
I can work out right now. I have no pre-workout.
Yeah.
So I went to the front of the gym, like outside, where they have that table.
Yeah.
I just sat there, listened to the audio Bible.
Let's go.
There
And then
you
I
go.
walked some laps and prayed.
I
I
love
like
that.
it.
It's just time.
Yeah.
Time with God. Time in His presence.
Yeah.
Listening to Him. Like whatever that looks like. Like yesterday, I just was intentional on my drive home to just sit there and listen. Nothing happened. Like I'm just gonna be transparent. Like nothing happened, but I was inspired by a Becoming Something podcast where they were like, actually, Maddie Pruitt Trout, whatever, her husband, I think his name's Grant, talked about this like chair time, and you spend like 15 minutes just sitting in a chair and you just think. You just try and hear from God. And so I was just like sitting there trying to hear from God. I think what you said earlier is really profound. Like my dad always said it like this: if you try and find time, it's never gonna happen. You have to make time, right?
Yeah.
And it kind of comes back to scheduling your priorities. As Craig Gashel will say, like if it's not in your calendar, it's probably not gonna happen, right? So if it's like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the gym tomorrow morning. Sure. It's like you're gonna wake up, you're gonna hear that alarm, and you're gonna feel that tired, feeling. It's gonna be like you're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But if it's like you got your gym clothes on the floor, your protein bottle's out on the counter waiting for you. I actually really struggle with waking up, so I put my phone by the door, so I have to get up
Yeah,
to
I do
silence
that
my
too.
alarm.
Yep.
Right? It's like when it comes to building habits, it's like how can you make it very simple and accessible, like repeatable, and then there's one more like trait of habits that that like make a good habit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's just like consistency at
Mhm.
the end of the day. I mean,
Yeah.
you can make excuses all you want,
Yeah.
but just do it. Like 10 minutes, just turn off the phone. I actually got like an app blocker today. So it's like this phone that like locks. So 9 to 5, I can't access my social medias unless I have to like give an intentional reason for it. So like, hey, I was DMing with Maya McDermott, you know what I mean, to schedule a photo shoot. So it was really helpful. My productivity
Hey.
like increased.
Nice. That's cool.
So yeah, I don't know. I think prioritizing, it, and we consume so much on a daily basis.
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
like check your priorities. But
Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
I don't know. I'd say just schedule out time, man. Schedule out time. Be intentional. Don't just like, oh, I'll find time tomorrow. That's my biggest advice.
Right. And hopefully as you're reading the word, you're going to start to fall more in love with it, become
Yeah.
more and more intrigued with what you're actually reading, and you'll have a drive to.
Or maybe not.
Or maybe not. There's plenty of times where I've gone through seasons.
I'm not a huge lover of like reading the Bible. Just to be transparent, I'm not. There's days I am. But I think back to like it's a spiritual discipline. Like you do it regardless how you feel, and that's where growth comes. So, anyways, that was a good little tangent, but that's kind of my thoughts.
Yeah.
Gosh, we could do a whole episode. And stuff
We
like
could,
that.
yeah,
for sure. Let's get into the topic for today.
Good
What are we talking? What are we talking about, Mitch?
Mitch, why don't you go ahead and let us know what we're gonna be looking at and what we're gonna be offering a counterculture perspective on.
Yeah, this is gonna be maybe one of our most controversial episodes yet, depending on who you are.
Depending on who you are.
We are going to be going over the most recent Impulsive podcast episode. They had Cliff and his son Stuart Netchell, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Is it Netchell?
Netchell or Nechtel?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
I always thought it was Nechtel.
Yeah. A lot of you guys know Cliff. If not, you may have seen him on TikTok. He goes viral a lot. He's the pastor that goes to college campuses and like talks with all the students and opens
That's how I found him.
discourse with them. Yeah, and so he's done debates. He's been on other podcasts like the George Janko one a couple times, which was insane. And I was literally actually freaking out when I saw that they were on Impulsive as well.
Yeah,
because I've been waiting for like an actual, born again Christian who knows what they're talking about to go on a podcast like this. And this podcast, I mean, it's a little over an hour long, and they just go over like all the most
everything.
important, like hard-hitting issues about Christianity,
homosexuality,
abortion, like who goes to heaven, who doesn't, why is Jesus the right God, everything like that.
Crazy,
so this thing is packed full of stuff we could review, but we chose to focus on the abortion topic, just because it's something we haven't done yet, and I think it's important for you guys to know, as Christians or as not, like where you should stand scientifically and biblically. And so I think it's also an important topic for Christians to know how to reason with the world right now, because it's a very common topic to come into contact with people with. So let's get into it. They're going to be talking about abortion.
How long is this clip?
About 7 minutes.
Okay, lock in, guys. This is going to be an interesting 7 minutes.
I'm sure there'll be. Maybe we'll break it up a couple times, but let's just do it.
Let's do it.
12-year-old is, and a subset of Christians say she can't have an abortion because it's against the Bible, or it's illegal in their state. And which I think is another issue. I mean, the intertwining of church and state is a little bit difficult for me to get behind, because even though you may be an American who lives in Texas, perhaps you're not a Christian, perhaps you don't abide by Christian rules and beliefs, and so it's not legal in Texas to get an abortion, but partially because the Bible said so, and when the Constitution was written, it was heavily intertwined in that document, and so that's another thing I thought is a little hard for me to be able to get behind. I really believe in women being able to make choices with their own body, and I don't think a panel of men should have any say in that.
Right. You mentioned to us when we walked in that you're here to see the ultrasound of your child.
Yep.
Okay, last generation,
Yep.
It was only 35% of the U.S. was pro-life.
Yep.
Now it's 51%. Like that's it's because of ultrasound.
Is that true?
That's true. It's a pretty drastic change because of ultrasound.
It's very interesting.
And I think right then and there, you see obviously the baby being torn apart. You see the baby having emotions, back to your point.
Yep.
And you ascribe value to that fetus or pre-fetus. And so when I hear, for example, over in the Netherlands, I first heard it and I got excited when I heard, Down syndrome, they're finding a type of cure. Well, I found out they're just aborting all Down syndrome
Oh,
babies.
geez.
What's a cure?
That's a cure, right? That's some type of
Wow,
cure.
that's
And that's so
crazy.
it's ascribing zero value to Down syndrome babies. We have a bunch of Down syndrome kids in our church who are the happiest, most joy-filled, most life-giving human beings imaginable. And so that's when you play fast and loose, I think, with human life. And again, if you don't ascribe value to something outside of, oh, they're healthy, or they're not going to be a suck on society. If it's something beyond that where it's, no, they have value no matter what because they're created in. You can't end that life.
It's very funny you bring up the ultrasound thing. We got the ultrasound of my
Nice, yeah.
unborn baby girl yesterday.
Congrats.
And by the way, you're absolutely right. I'm super pro-life. I always will be. I think it's weird for anyone to decide what anyone else does with their body. That's insane.
Well, let me.
Let me.
I just want to.
No. I just want to. I saw the ultrasound yesterday. 21-week-old baby. And I saw fingers. I saw hands. I saw a baby. I saw a little human. Personally, yeah. Seems a little up to abort a 21-year-old weak baby. 21-year-old week. 21-week-old baby.
Old baby.
Yeah, the ultrasound makes it super, super real. But in those odd instances and unfortunate instances where, like, again, it's always you'll always have people pushing back on the conversation. Or even like say someone determines they're not responsible enough. And that's a responsible decision in itself. Maybe I'm not at a point in my life where I'm willing to take care of a child because I don't have the means, the resources, the finances. I'm not stable enough in my own life to be able to bear this baby. That's I think responsible and like maybe a little bit of an ethical decision because you deemed you're not able to raise this baby yet.
But even your statement right there semi contradicts your original statement, which is that you shouldn't be passing any judgment on when abortion is or isn't okay because the woman should have the whole say. Like in your original statement, if a woman says I want to abort this baby, it's her body, her choice. So we all abide to that. So we shouldn't even be having this discussion based on your original.
Well, that's what it is. No. We should be having this discussion because it's all a discussion. I think at the end of the day, yeah, absolutely. I will always side with a woman who wants to do what she wants to do with her body. I believe that.
So if Nina came,
he keeps
sorry to murder your baby
missing
again
that
for the
up.
third time today. If Nina came up to you today and was like, listen, like I'm having second thoughts here.
Yep. What I would do is have a prolonged discussion with her that I hope she'd be receptive to. And I think that's like healthy, you know?
Well, I mean, I guess what else can you do?
No.
What-
I mean, I don't know, but like at the end of the day, what am I going to force her to
No, that's what I'm
carry a
saying.
child
Yeah,
for 6
like,
months?
well,
Like, that's wild to me.
Yeah,
but no,
but
you're
you
right.
gotta
The ultrasound thing is interesting because I saw this baby and I did have the thought like, I'm pro-life, but like killing this thing is a little freaked up.
He means pro-choice.
If I
means
were to
pro-choice.
like make that decision is wild. But you know, in the instances of the most unfortunate circumstances, based on your scripture, you're still unwilling to be okay with that decision of killing an unborn child, even if it was a product of.
Well, okay, so rape is less than like 0.1% of all abortions.
Yeah.
So like, let's just establish that. Like, I hate that argument. It's super easy to diffuse. Like, that's just not. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not. That's not the main issue.
Yeah.
Like,
People
let's toss that out the window. I mean,
people will use the rape and incest. Like that's
Yeah.
automatically what they'll go to
I know.
when it accounts for less than 1% of all abortions. And then they'll be like, but they still matter. Yes, they still matter.
Yeah.
But the problem
and it
is,
might be less than 1%. I might have said 0.1.
yeah.
But regardless, it's very
The
marginal.
problem is you're using that as an excuse to justify abortion
99%.
when that's not
Yeah.
right. And regardless, you'd still say that other 99% are justified in what they're doing. You're just
100%.
using that as an extreme argument to try to
Yeah.
disprove,
Yeah.
our position. So before they respond, what would we say to that? Because like the ultrasound fact is pretty crazy.
Did you know that?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
I didn't. Once the ultrasound got invented, more people became pro-life because it became more real.
That's cool.
Which makes sense because I feel like a lot of women, they don't know what is inside them.
Yeah.
They just with increased technology now we can, and that makes it real for them.
Yeah. Was our heartbeat at 8 weeks?
I think it
How's
is
heartbeat?
8. Yeah, I think you're right.
Heartbeat at 8 weeks. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know, man. Like to me, it kind of, as we were talking about earlier, like this is such a crazy thing that this is a debate to me. Like what are we talking about here? Like, yeah, I mean, you're killing a baby. Like, okay, and then it's like, okay, how do you deem that it's not a baby? Like, what's the argument against that, right? Oh, it's in the womb. It can't survive on its own. Okay. Give me a 1-year-old. Leave them for a week. They're not going to survive on their own either, right? Take a 97-year-old, right, who can't go to the bathroom, can't feed themselves. They're on breathing tubes. Give them a week by themselves, right? Take somebody who maybe has more like special needs, like maybe, actual special needs, like Down syndrome or something. And it's like they need different care and attention, or they have a disease where they need a certain machine. They can't live on their own. So they're not a human. So it's like, it's a really interesting argument. Yeah, just to begin with, because it's like, okay, it is a baby. And if you try and if you try and say that it's not, it's like, okay, well, what are you, on what basis? Like on what basis is it not a human? And how are you justifying that claim? Yeah, heartbeat at 8 weeks. I mean, I don't know all the scientific facts, but it's like, look it up. It's crazy. It's like fully developed X, Y, and Z by like 15 weeks. Fully developed, hands by 20. I mean, it's like crazy how fast these babies develop. So I don't know. It's a baby. And to try and disqualify it as, a human because it's in a mother's womb, it's just absolute. It's just madness.
And just now you brought up facts, and you didn't even mention like your beliefs or the Bible once. And I like how that was like the first thing he brought up was like, if you're in Texas and you have a law system that doesn't allow you to get an abortion, that goes against church and state.
Yeah.
Well, that's not really true, because all of my values, like that would be also against someone murdering. So if you say like, hey, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with your Christian values. I think people should go around and murder each other, and the law should be okay with that.
Yeah.
That's the exact same argument.
100%. Yeah, you can definitely flip that coin.
Yeah,
for sure.
So that was a pretty bad argument starting from him.
Yeah.
That was like, that's pretty easy to disprove that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he didn't even know what pro-choice was.
Yeah.
Or what pro-life
Yeah, he
was.
kept flip-flopping
him. But yeah, and this whole like, I don't know, man, this whole like my body, my choice. It's like you chose to have sex.
Yeah, the choice is before.
The choice was yours.
Yeah.
And so like you're trying to deem it as a responsible decision to have an abortion. What I would say is a responsible, decision is not having unprotected sex or not having sex without being ready to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like having sex, the ultimate design for that was to multiply. Like that's what God's purpose was. And he made it enjoyable. How awesome is that? Right? He put everything where it is. He made it feel how it does. And so at the end of the day, like that was the purpose of it. And so it's all of a sudden like we're shocked when what's supposed to happen happens and we have a baby. And then we're like, well, I'm not ready for this, so I'm just going to discard it. Well, then you weren't ready for sex. So if you're 25 years old and you're looking to get an abortion because you're not ready, newsflash, you shouldn't be having sex.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Then you obviously have the responsibility of somebody who's under 18, should still be in school, isn't ready for a real life, a real career. So I just think it's interesting that, I don't know, that whole side of the argument is complete BS to me. Just complete BS. My body, my choice. It's a cop-out.
Yeah, I just want to make it clear that no pro-lifer, no one in the pro-life position cares what a woman does with her body.
No.
You go do whatever you want with your body. Get a tattoo,
Tats,
go be a whore.
Be a whore,
do whatever you want with your
on
body.
Your head, like I don't
There's
care.
a problem though, where the problem comes in is that we're not talking about your body. We're talking about the human life that's inside you, the baby's body in you,
which was also created by another human.
Yeah.
So like that's the other factor too. My body, my choice. Like you needed my semen to make that. Like that's the DNA's half mine.
Yeah.
So to think that you have full choice over something that, in quotes, genetically is half mine is absolutely absurd. Why do you get that full decision? Like women were born, were made to bear children. The men weren't.
Yeah.
So we don't get a say in whether the child lives or not,
Mm-hmm.
come on, man.
We're not telling you what you can or can't do with your body. Well, we're not telling you, we're not trying to control your body. We're saying just don't kill this thing.
Yeah.
Like,
Don't
we're
kill
just-
the baby
we're
that's
just saying-
really living and growing inside of you.
Yeah, just let nature take its course
Yeah.
and let this birth naturally play out.
Yeah.
We're trying to not force you to do anything. We're trying to stop you from doing something.
Yeah. So an
It's
irresponsible mom, that's one of the things he brought up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's say you're 18, you have messed around at your senior kegger, and boom, pregnant. Is it responsible to get an abortion? And if not, what does that path look like?
Is that an open question?
It's an open question. I'm asking you guys. Because that's kind of what he was alluding to. Like, is it actually the responsible decision to get an abortion? Because I'm 18. Like, I don't have
think-
the means or capabilities to raise this child in the house that, hold that it deserves. And so what does that look like? Where do you stand? Like, what do you think
It
of that?
depends on your priorities.
Okay.
If your priorities are all about you, yeah, it's the responsible thing to do.
I love this.
And that's where I think where he's coming from.
Yeah.
Is like, if you have a worldly perspective and you're trying to influence your work life, obviously if you have a baby, that's going to affect that.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
I would say that's every single woman. All right, I can't claim that actually. I think a lot of women who get abortions simply deem the child as an inconvenience.
Yeah.
I really do. Like, I really think that it was just like you know what, I'm just not ready for this. Or, I still got my career to focus on.
Right.
Or, oh, I'm a little bit too young. I got more life to experience.
I would definitely say that's the majority.
I'd say that's a majority. And so, like, even the argument that, like, there's all these reasons, it's like most women are just selfish. And to your point, it's like, what do you care about? The life of this child that you could potentially, put into foster care. I mean, there's options too, right?
Right,
Like, if at
yeah,
the end of the day, you
definitely.
like literally deemed yourself totally unfit, you had mental problems, like there's other avenues you can go besides killing it. But for you to dictate, life or no life for this child that had no choice but to come into this world, and then you're making the choice for them whether they go out, is absolutely crazy. You know what I mean? That just makes no sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should see how they respond and then get back
I'm
into
interested.
more.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
go ahead.
All right, the Bible never uses the word abortion. Okay? The Bible does say we're not to murder. And murder is killing motivated by selfishness, hatred, or revenge. Obviously, there's such a thing as self-defense, which is different ethically. So murder is killing motivated by selfishness, hatred, or revenge. All right, so then obviously the hard question is, when does human life begin?
Yeah.
Right? That's the hard question.
It's the question. Yeah, for sure.
Now, in every major university hospital in the United States, if a body lying on an intensive care bed has brain activity and heartbeat, doctors and nurses are legally and medically responsible to do everything within their power to sustain that life. So between 6 to 10 weeks after conception, that, quote, little piece of skin in a woman's womb has both heartbeat and
Sounds right.
brain
Yeah.
activity.
Yep.
It has the credentials to merit what
Thank
we
you.
consider life. That
Okay.
makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, good. So then the difficult question becomes, well, what about before 6 to 10 weeks? All right. What is the difference between a 2-week-old fertilized egg, a 6-month-old fertilized egg, and you? I would argue there is no difference in kind. There is a difference in degree, obviously, of maturation. Different degree of maturation, no difference in kind. 100 times out of 100, that little fertilized egg is going to come down a woman's birth canal, never as an alligator, never as a chicken or a bunny rabbit, 100 times out of 100 as a baby, as a human life. So therefore, I would argue that before 6 to 10 weeks, even though there is no brain activity or heartbeat, you've got a human being there because there's no difference in kind, just in degree of maturation. So that is why I would be very, very hesitant to go down the abortion path.
Makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Totally makes sense. I guess I'll always fall back on, like, we can sit here on this couch and like talk as men about what we think about it, but man, like men making decisions for women, like, really irks me.
Back to the women, dude. It's just
Man.
crazy.
Yeah, let women do whatever they want. They can go out and murder, steal,
That's wild,
right?
bro.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like when Cliff draws out a very reasonable case
Yeah,
for why life begins at conception.
right.
And Logan doesn't really have anything to combat that, so he just falls back on, we're men. We can't talk about women,
Yeah.
force them to do whatever.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a cop-out. You know, he didn't really have anything to say back to that.
yeah.
Because
Mhm.
that's the facts and that's the science.
Right.
Like, I can make a completely, almost bulletproof case for abortion without the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, scientifically.
Yeah, I know. I never even mentioned the Bible because I
Right.
needed to.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like if you're a Christian, right? Like Jesus knitted you in your mother's innermost parts, right? Or knitted your innermost parts in your mother's womb.
Yeah.
Like Scripture talks about that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, it's a sin to have an abortion. So
Yeah.
there's that. In case you were curious.
Yeah.
But yeah, even for the non-believer, it's like logically, scientifically, the only part we get to is the woman's choice.
Yeah.
And what would you say? So like right now I'm 4 weeks pregnant. I'm a woman. I'm sitting in front of you and I'm saying, Mitch, I'm 23 years old. Do you know how much more of my life I have? I have no man to raise this baby. My husband, my boyfriend right now just left me after finding out I'm pregnant. Wants nothing to do with me. He's a drug dealer. Why would I bring this baby into the world? It's my body. I can do what I want. What are you telling me?
Okay. So based on that last statement you just made, I would probably draw a conclusion. But I first want to see where this woman is at with how does she view what is inside of her? Does she see it as a human life, or does she see it as just, a parasite is a word that people like to throw around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whenever I have any conversation about abortion with people, I skip all the crazy rabbit trails and hypotheticals and I say, when does life begin?
Yeah.
'Cause that cuts right through everything and to the point. Because if it's a baby,
Begins at heartbeat. 8 weeks.
okay.
I'm 4.
Because if it's a baby and you still think abortion is a
Right.
viable option, you have to say that I'm okay with murdering someone.
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
And if then I'm talking to a maniac in front of me.
A murderer.
Okay. I'm literally talking to a killer.
Yeah.
So what'd you say? 4?
Yeah. So I'm 4 weeks in, month in. Heartbeat begins about 6 to 10 weeks. I don't want the baby. I'm not ready for it.
You're not a Christian though.
I'm not a Christian.
Okay. That helps too.
And you don't see it as a human being.
Not right now. It's just an egg.
It's just an egg. Okay.
Fertilized egg.
Well, then I would, and if you're asking me, I would say I would go through reasonable arguments for considering that it actually is a unique human being.
Mhm.
Adding on to what Cliff said, from the moment of conception,
Yeah.
that baby inside of you, fetus,
Mhm.
which is Latin for small human.
Yep.
A lot of people don't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That the moment of conception, there was a unique DNA code was
Yeah.
formed.
Yep.
It's like it is a distinct part of you that is a distinct being that is not a part of you.
Yes.
It has a unique DNA code of its own from the moment of conception.
Yeah.
So it's not a wart that you have. It's not
Yeah.
some
it's not
leech.
attached to you.
Yeah.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
floating in you because you're protecting it,
Yeah.
because you're supposed to protect it and nourish it until
Mhm.
it becomes, until you give birth to it,
Mhm.
right? Them, he, her, whatever gender. Yeah. So 100%. I love that.
Yeah. So I would say what you have inside you right now is a completely unique being that is of human
Yeah.
kind, and that left to its natural processes just develops
Yeah.
in maturation, like Cliff was saying.
Yeah.
The only difference between an 8-week fetus with a heartbeat and the one you have in you now is time.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make a human a non-human just because of time.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. And another thing I say, kind of like he said, kind of like you said, I mean, the due process, right? Like from conception, there's never been one scenario where a human has given birth to anything but a human.
Yeah.
And so I always say this. I say, okay, so just, think this through with me. You know, this is one of the arguments I'll use. You don't have the abortion. Okay. 6 years from now, you got a little blonde 5-year-old. And he's looking up at you saying, "Mommy, I love you." Right? You never gave that little blonde 5-year-old a chance to see life. You never gave them a chance to see life. You literally made that decision for them, because it's like, well, I don't know if they would have a good life. Well, they're never going to find out. Like, they're never going to be able to make those choices on their own. Like, you don't have to have an amazing childhood to turn out good. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that, you know, the way you're raised and the environment you're raised in has no effect on your life. 100% it does. But at the end of the day, we all make our own choices and decisions, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know families where one kid turned out horrible and the rest turns out incredible, right? So then it's like, should they not have had that kid because they turned out horrible? Well, no, of course not, right? Like, they would never say that. It's not like, oh, I regret having that kid now. You need to be able to give that kid the opportunity to live life, make decisions on their own. And God is capable of anything, which, you know, this starts to dip into the spiritual side of things. But it's like, there is no one too broken. There's no one too far away from God that can't be redeemed, brought into his fold, made whole, healed, renewed. And so to think that, like, just because he's going to be born into maybe a tougher situation, that he's going to have a horrible life and shouldn't live at all, and you're making that decision for him, is just super tragic.
I think I'd have a little bit of a different approach when talking to someone. I think I would first ask them, if you were to have this baby and one, your body wouldn't change, your life wouldn't change, would you still go through with it?
Yeah.
And
would change.
nothing would change. Would you still go through with it? And I think most people would say yes. If they say no, I think you're probably not going to persuade them either way.
Yeah.
But if let's say they say yes, then I think you bring up, first you kind of talk through adoption, that whole process. And then also you would ask, well, if you would do that for your child, if your body wouldn't change, would you sacrifice your body changing and your life changing a little bit for this person to live? And I think, based on that answer, I think if they say no, obviously you know where they're at. You're probably not going to change their mind. If they say yes, I think that's a good opportunity to talk about adoption. And then obviously even through the pregnancy process, maybe they come 6 months later and they realize, hey, I think I actually want to keep this kid for myself. So I think that's probably where I would start.
And that's where the next thing I would go into is addressing kind of the emotional side of it. I just want to get a scope of, like, what does this person view is inside them.
Right.
I would also suggest that they get connected with a local church. That I know great churches that have great assistance programs.
Absolutely.
And
speak on that more, because I think that's underrated. Like, I think people who are in situations like that, it's like, man, I have nowhere to turn. I think you do have a place to turn. It just might not be where you want to turn, or, you know, your first option.
Yeah. So if you don't want to go through with adoption, which is an option, and you keep this baby, there are communities of believers, specifically
Called
churches,
church.
that literally people's jobs are to serve the community and to help people like you out who need help financially, what have you, care for a baby. They are connected with companies like Alpha Women's Center, which is local here. That company does amazing work taking in patients or taking women themselves and helping take care of food.
Single mothers.
So there is help out there. And
Hope Ministries for women. My church partners with them. Your mom. Partners with
I've
them.
done some stuff with Hope Ministries as well.
And
then there's this thing that there's this stereotype that people think, like, pro-lifers just don't care about the women. Like, dude,
so
Christian
much about the
communities help out single mothers at twice the rate of non-Christians. I saw that statistic.
That's crazy.
Everyone can do more. I agree. The adoption system or foster care system is crap. I get that. But that doesn't mean you can be a murderer because of that. You know?
There's I think the conclusion you need to come to is that there's just more options. Like, abortion does not have to be the option. That it doesn't solve the problems. And so I actually wrote which I'm a little bit upset at my lack of retention for the information that I actually gathered and learned in college. I did an entire paper essay, not a dissertation or anything, but on abortion. And man, one of the articles I read was insane. You'll have to just find some statistics on it, but it shed some light on women who have had abortions and the rate of regret as well as depression.
Yeah, that's a huge thing.
Insane.
Yep.
So like before you have an abortion, like please do some research into just like the mental health effects afterwards, because you would be blown away by how catastrophic that decision is for so many women. I'm not talking like 5, I'm talking like 70 plus probably percent are having massive regrets, extreme depression, because we have this thing in us that knows the truth deep down.
Yeah.
We know what we did, and we know that it was for selfish motive, and we know that the truth is we could have made it work. And all of a sudden it's 10 years down the road and it's like, man, I have a 10-year-old that I never got to meet. It's like, man, God, I pray one day I do.
Yeah.
You know, Lecrae says in one of his songs, he says, I forced her to get an abortion. I pray, you know, God, I pray that someday I'll meet him.
When I die, I can meet him.
Yeah. And I'm like, man, yeah, how heart-wrenching. Like you took a real life of somebody that could have been the cure to cancer, could have been the cure to Down syndrome, like actually the cure, right? Like could have had all these amazing feats. God could have used them in so many mighty ways. And yet you decided to take that in your own hands and take a life. That's super sad.
Yeah.
That
But
reality.
their life was a little bit easier up until that point. Maybe they get paid a little more from their job.
Yeah.
Is that the trade-off you want?
Yeah. It's
And,
all about,
you know,
it's all about value and priorities. Like Colby
Yep,
said,
yeah.
I mean, what do you value? What do you prioritize? And I think, unfortunately, less and less we're prioritizing the family unit. We talked about this last time.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's another. I really wish I had more of my. I think I have my essay actually on my computer. But yeah, I mean, it's actually staggering. And maybe we can, if I do find them, we can like maybe put some clips of the article on the screen while I was talking, just so you guys can see some of those statistics. But it like blew me away, because I actually never thought of that side of things.
Right.
Like okay, the woman gets the abortion.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it would make sense. There's a large negative ramification to that
Definitely.
choice. And we're seeing that play out, guys. We're seeing that play out. It's very, very real.
Yeah. And
So-
even in every area of life, I even look back to my own life. Everything that seems easy is usually in reality the hardest thing.
Yeah.
Right. I think the best things come out of the hardest decisions, and then to flip that,
Absolutely.
the easiest things you choose usually turn out to be the harder things. I think even back to my real estate, finance, any big wins that I have, looking back, like in the moment, those were the hardest things. Even though like the reward was high,
Yeah.
looking back, I mean, it was the hardest thing in my life to be able to figure some of those things out.
Yeah.
So
I just think it's hard to get to the science and what is actually like logical
Going
in this
on,
issue, because it's
yeah.
such an emotionally charged issue.
Yeah.
Because you have women who are in the midst of it who feel like
Who have
They-
pregnancy brain and all the emotions and hormones going on.
and they just feel like they literally can't support this child.
Yeah.
And then you have people on the pro-choice side saying that, you know, men shouldn't tell women what to do. Can't believe this could ever happen. And it's so emotionally charged that it's really, really hard to have a dialogue with someone reasonably and scientifically.
Super hard.
Because let me just say, over 90% of scientists think that life starts at conception.
Yeah.
Like it's
That is
basically
true.
settled science.
It's settled science. Like in the science community, that is
Yeah.
like consensus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Life starts at conception. If you end a fetus, a developing fetus, after conception, you're killing, murdering a human being, and from the moment conception on, that being has more of a right to life than you have a right to your own convenience.
Yeah.
So,
And I think one thing I wanted to touch on, because like, I don't know what our audience looks like as far as demographics. Like, I don't know if it's mostly male, female, but like if you are a female who has gone through an abortion, like, man, I'm here for you. Like, I'm so sorry.
there's so much empathy.
Like, so much empathy. Like, I can't imagine the weight of that decision. Like, I can't. And I just want you to know, like, I love you. Jesus radically loves you. Like, no matter what you've done, no matter where you've been, I know that the regret can be high, and the emotions can be crazy, but yeah, I love you. Jesus loves you. And so I just want to say, if that's you and you've been through that, there's so much empathy. And there's grace and there's moving past that. And there is, opportunity to, grow and be forgiven by Jesus. And so I don't know. I just want you to hear that. And then, for those of you who maybe, like struggle with this, or are like, well, I just can't believe it. This seems like an insensitive thing to be like, I just, it's not your choice. I think what you got to realize is the Christian community wants to take you in and love on you. Like, man, if I had an opportunity to talk, excuse me, with a girl who maybe was, contemplating abortion and was like, man, I just want the opportunity to love on her and to just show her the love of Jesus and to just show her that, like, man, life is so valuable. God loves you, and he loved you when you were 1 week old in the womb. Like, he knitted your innermost parts. And I would just want them to hear that. Like, I just want you to hear that message. Like, God loves you. You are so loved, and there is hope. Like, there is hope, and you don't have to just think that this is the only option. And we care, like, tons of empathy. Like, it's a hard decision. It can be emotionally charged. Like, there can be situations and circumstances where it feels like, man, there's no way that this is the best option, for me, me keeping this baby. So lots of grace, lots of empathy. I love you. Jesus loves you. You are not your past mistakes. And if this is something you're dealing with now, please just find people around you who are going to love on you from the church and care for you and just show you what love looks like, and can speak on the value of life and what God and the value God places on life, because we are made in his image. So I don't know, I just wanted to throw that out there because I think this is a sensitive topic. And man, I have so much empathy and love and grace for people who have either gone through it or are going through it, because I know it's hard.
Yeah, I like how you kind of started off with, like, if I were going through this, what would you say? I think that's where we need to start, like, one-on-one conversations with this type of issue, because obviously people that are struggling through this are going through different issues in their life, have different reasons, and I think that should be the place we start. One-on-one conversation. It's not going to be an Instagram post that gets someone to realize that they were wrong about abortion or really any number of issues. I think a lot of these really conversation should be one-on-one or one-on-two, two-on-two, whatever.
Well, I mean, like, the one-on-one aspect I do love, but I think in general, like, you're not going to convince a woman out of abortion most likely because you bring a list of scientific facts. Like, I think we need to realize, and if you're listening to this and you're pro-life and maybe you've been in a position like this before, pointing at myself, it's like, man, coming up with this, like, whole case and argument for why abortion is wrong and doing this and that and throwing it in their face really isn't going to move the needle. Like, it's not going to be beneficial. I think at the end of the day, how do I show you so much love? How do I show you that Jesus is so much better that all of a sudden it's like, man, like, I want what you have. And I do value life, and I am valued as a creation of God and as a daughter of God. Like, that's kind of the approach that I think we need to have more often than not. We wanted to obviously give you guys scientific facts today. We wanted to make sure that there is logic and reasoning and scientific data to back these claims. Like, I don't want to just be speaking, out of nothing, out of thin air. But at the end of the day, like, we need to be loving on the people that are going through these things, because they need somewhere to turn. And that needs to be the people of God. It needs to be the church. It needs to be the ones who have been received or have received forgiveness from Jesus and Jesus' forgiveness, have been loved by Jesus, because we're going to be the ones most apt to be able to love and serve and care for them.
I think that's absolutely right. I think that love should be an immediate response. And yeah, like I said, I think it's just such an emotionally charged issue. And it's almost like you have to, like, get the woman to realize that God loves her and that
So
God
much.
exists. Like,
So
even if they're
much.
not Christians, that's
Yeah.
kind of the hard part.
Yeah.
And to get them to understand that there's someone who can sustain you
Yeah.
and carry you through a time that you don't see as being very it's just not going to be good for me.
Right.
But there's a God that can carry you through that, and sustain you and comfort you through that.
Yeah.
And who's faithful. But yeah.
And for people, I actually have had this argument backfire in my face one time.
Okay.
But I I've asked a few people, like, are you happy that you were born? Like, are you glad that you have life? And they're like, well, yeah. And I'm like, so then give this little baby the same chance. Like, somebody gave you a chance, right? Like, you didn't have a choice. They could have said, this is my body, my choice. Like, I'm not, like, imagine all the people that you currently love. They never would have known you. You never would have known them. And so it's like the same thing for this little baby in the womb. Like, give them a chance to experience life, to be loved, to love, to experience the love of God if you are a Christian. But one time I did have somebody be like, no, wish I was never born. I hate my life.
Yeah, there are those people.
And I was like, I literally was like, do you know the chances of being born? I was like, it's literally like 1 in quadrillion. Like, it's so, like, the chances of you specifically, your DNA makeup being born is like so freaking rare. I was like, it's really sad that you're just taking that for granted. Like, God brought you on earth for a reason. And yeah, I hope Skylar, if you ever hear this, know that I love you. And I miss those conversations. We had a lot of good conversations.
Yeah. I think this issue and the issue of homosexuality, and probably a lot of others, but those two specifically, are similar and related in the sense that it's all a problem of people wanting to have autonomy with their body and do what they want and be in control of their life and their decisions.
Yeah.
And that's just sin. That's literally what sin is manifested.
Yeah.
And it's against what God's design is and what he intends for you.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's hard to get people to understand that it's not your life,
Yeah.
It's like your decisions to make your life better aren't what God intends a lot of the times.
100%. And pregnancy is hard. But my wife is on her second. And I can tell you for a fact, she does not regret being pregnant. Right. And it's like the gift and the joy of our son, Malachi. It's not even a comparison. Like, she would be pregnant 98 more times to have him. Like, it's so worth it. Like, the joy that a child brings to your life. And we talked about this in the other podcast episode. The happiest demographic is parents who have kids. And so I just think, sure, it's a hard decision, but I promise you it's going to be one that's worth it. It takes work. It takes sacrifice. But the path of least resistance is also the path of least growth. And we have to come to this understanding that what God wants for us is not what's easiest, but what's best. Like, he came to give us life and life to the fullest, but that didn't mean without hardship, without trial, without, sacrifice. And so realizing that, this might be a hard decision, but that doesn't mean it's a bad one. And in fact, oftentimes, as you said, the hard decisions we make are the ones that we reap the most benefit from. So just keep that in mind too. Like, there's light at the end of the tunnel, right? It's like, there's hard season. I'm going through a hard season right now. 2-year-old going crazy, one on the way, about to be here in about a month. It's like, man, things are getting wild. They're ramping up. But like, this season will pass. God will get us through it. And there's going to be so much beauty. And we're going to miss parts of the season. We're going to miss him being 2 and saying funny things. So I don't know. I just think, be grateful for the opportunities that you have in life, just in general. Like, God is so good. And there's so many blessings that we're able to be a part of. And I think we oftentimes do take it for granted, as if we're these autonomous beings that created ourselves, sustain ourselves. It's like, man, you did not keep your heart beating last night. Yeah. Somebody's in control.
The whole pro-choice position sprouts from that.
Yeah.
Thinking that you have the right to control your life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if God doesn't exist, by all means, like, be pro-choice.
Absolutely.
100%
if God does not exist. Absolutely. Yeah. And at the end of the day, man, like, your body is a temple. Like, it is a temple. And you only get one of them. Like, it's such a gift. I mean, health is something you take for granted when you have it, and you really miss it when you don't, or whatever that saying is. So I don't know. I'm kind of going on a tangent, but I just think just some perspective is needed. Just some perspective, like a perspective shift for a lot of people to realize that it's not a burden, it's a blessing.
Mm.
Yeah, and that's a problem because a lot of people in the pro-choice movement view that little fetus as not a blessing but a parasite.
Yeah,
is literally the language that they'll
which
use.
is crazy.
And it just shows that they don't know they realize what is actually
Yeah.
going on inside there.
Yeah.
Cool little side note too for this abortion topic. I've heard a couple people talk about this, but you guys might not know about it.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, when's the last time in history, more biblical times, that there was a mass execution of babies?
Moses
And
and King
Herod.
Herod. Yeah.
So both of those times, I think the
The
devil.
firstborn.
The firstborn.
yeah.
But both of those times, the devil was trying to prevent someone from being born.
Interesting.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Which is also an interesting
Yeah.
thing that you add there, because I'm sure that Satan loves abortion.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
like
Absolutely.
that, and that's cool that you bring
He
that up,
rejoices.
because from the history, thousands of years ago,
Yeah.
people in the Old Testament, like Satan has used awful people to murder babies,
Right.
and
Yeah,
that
he loves
genocides have happened. And I mean, God ultimately worked his plan through those things.
Right.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but the mass murder of children
Mhm.
has always been
Yeah.
a problem.
And that was to prevent the lineage. So with that, we don't have that anymore because obviously the lineage is fulfilled in Jesus.
Jesus. Yeah.
But it's still interesting. Like, maybe does the devil know something that we don't? Is there somebody, maybe
Yeah.
the last Jew or whatever, to be born that's going to believe in the end times? So I think there could be something there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Who
Well,
knows?
and I really encourage you, if you haven't seen the movie Nefarious, go watch it. Mitch is a movie critic,
No,
you know,
I'm
like those
joking,
Rotten
I'm joking.
Tomato people. No, I honestly,
good. It's
I
good.
thought it was incredible because most like Christian-based films, let's just be real, it can be cheesy.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I just thought the overall like idea of the film and the plot, I just thought it was well written. I'm like, should I give it away? I don't know. I like feel bad giving it away, but
It's just it just gives you an in-depth perspective on what Satan's perspective might
Yeah,
be, like
it's a
on the
great way
world
to
and
put
how
it.
humans interact, and
yeah,
he loves the fact that people think they're the gods of themselves.
he loves
it because it turns people away from their actual creator.
Yes. And yeah, there's very interesting tie-in of abortion and how it's murder.
Yeah.
And yeah, he starts to pull on the guy's heartstrings. Gosh, you have to go see it. Like,
I actually
it's-
haven't seen it. So.
what?
No, I have not.
Dude,
Do I need to see
rewatch.
it?
I'd rewatch. Yeah,
All
it's
right.
really good. We should watch it together.
We should.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah.
Next Tuesday?
Bet.
All right.
Okay.
Man, yeah, it's just super good. Like the story it tells, and it really does just give you the perspective of the devil. Like we
Yeah.
oftentimes just think through this like la-di-da-di-da like mindset, but all of a sudden it's like, whoa, I didn't really think of it this way.
Yeah,
but
like-
the devil's scheming, bro, and
like-
he's alive and real, and he's the little G god of this world.
Mhm.
And his plan is a lot more intricate than we think, from
Yep.
history past till present.
Come on, man.
There you go.
Way more. Like we think he's like stupid,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
I was
And
the devil.
people don't think about it like this, but like abortion is mass genocide. It's been going on forever.
So sad.
And it's mass genocide
It's
that
mass
makes
genocide.
Hitler look small, and
Yeah.
what Stalin did look
yeah,
like
so you
nothing.
think like Hitler's evil.
Yeah.
And then the devil's like, you're funny. Look what I've done.
and I can get people to do it themselves.
I can get people
you
to
know?
do it themselves.
Yeah.
Like I don't
Crazy.
even need war. I don't even need turmoil. Like
Yeah.
I can get people to be so selfish. They will kill their babies inside of them,
Mm.
pluck them apart, and give birth to them in pieces in the toilet.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Also watch Unplanned.
Whew. Yeah.
If you have not seen that movie, an abortion clinic director turns pro-life and I think becomes a Christian. And yeah, basically just said like, you cannot be pro-choice if you knew what went on in these clinics.
Mm.
You can't. Like they're plucking out baby hands and arms and putting them on trays. Like horrible.
Yeah.
Because basically she like runs this clinic, and one day like they were short staffed, and so she had to go in and actually like I don't know, do the procedure, like hold the tray or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it absolutely wrecked her. She was
Wow.
like, I had no idea what was actually going on in these rooms, and I cannot be a part of this.
Wow.
Mm.
Abortion clinic director, fam. So
Yeah.
lots of different perspectives. Just know God loves you so much, and your life is
Mhm.
so valuable, and I hope you also value the
Definitely.
life of the little baby inside of you. You guys have any-
And scripturally, God knows you before you were born.
yeah,
He was
numbered
intentional.
the hairs in your head.
Yeah, he was intentionally involved in the process of knitting you together
Yeah,
from
how
your
beautiful is
conception.
that?
And
Yeah.
he died for you.
And he died for you.
Imagine that.
He died for everybody.
Yeah. Beautiful picture.
No limited atonement.
He died for his people.
He died for the world, as John 3:16 says. And the elect are the people he
Oh,
foreknowledged.
gosh.
Okay. Anyways, next episode, predestination
Oh, yeah.
and Calvinism and Arminianism. But no, I don't think I have anything else. Anything
Yeah.
else you guys want to say?
Nope, just
Lot of
thank
good
you
stuff.
everyone for tuning in. If you're listening on Spotify, streaming services, or if you're watching us along as we talk on YouTube, thank you so much. Subscribe, follow us on social media,
Mm-hmm.
Counterculture Podcast.
Yep.
And yeah, we'll see you in the next episode.
Yes, sir.
Peace.
See you guys.
See ya.